We are preparing to stream the meeting live.
Yep, I see the live thing. So let me go to Geek First. And see. Yep, there we go.
Let me tweet this out.
All right. And hey, where are you putting it on from the show account?
Yeah.
Okay. I watched the Patreon. I didn't want to watch Justice League again, so I just watched their reactions. That was more entertaining.
I didn't watch it, but I listened to the audio because I was at work, and I got to go back and watch the video because I could feel the groans and that. I need to see them. I need to see the misery.
It's great. It was very entertaining this afternoon. I was surprised they dropped it as quickly as they did.
Not surprised that they would feel the way they did.
No, I don't know what that gives you that indication.
Not surprised. Whoa! Apparently, I'm not surprised on the chat either. Okay. They would feel the way they did. There we go.
Volume down.
Volume down. Shared on Twitter.
All right.
Boom. Okay.
All right. Let me find it and tweet it out from my end.
Forgot to tag you, but just send it.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, listeners, and people in the chat.
You got to hit the record button on Zencaster.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't recorded yet. Save that on Zoom. Okay, perfect. Everything's saved. Start recording.
There we go.
Well, here we are. The new podcast, Arrow, a retrospect. Oh, wait, no, sorry. This may happen if I'm not joined with my co-hosts for a few more times. I may change this podcast to the Arrow retrospective, but this is still DC Alliance, chapter 34. And great, we have an AVB out for Greg. He's kind of missing right now. I think he's doing some tracking of Kate Kane, trying to make sure he can, or Batwoman, one of the two. So with me is Chris Belga from Marvel Alliance and World's Finest True Believers. How are you doing today, Chris?
Doing good. At by the time it's dropped, it'll be the morning of a new semester for us. We're going back to hybrid learning, where some of the students come in 2 days a week and the others stay home, and vice versa. So we've been on virtual since winter break. So we're all a little apprehensive again, but it's just new jitters for a new semester. But I'm excited and always willing to jump on and talk a little DC.
Yeah, and I can't thank you enough for jumping on, saving my bacon here, and instead of me having to chat solo, did that a hell of a lot with superhero discussions before it got picked up.
You did a good job. Just don't respond to yourself.
I will never listen to my old solo shows, definitely. But especially while you're here, is you had a chance to interview Sean O'Connell.
Oh, well, first we got to do network plugs.
Oh, I know, but I'm just, that'll be dropping at the front of this episode. But before we get into that goodness and the rest of the things, like you said, let's do the network plugs. So we're part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network podcast 7 days a week, including World's Finest True Believers on Monday, DC Alliance on Tuesday, Marvel Alliance on Wednesday, Star Wars Alliance, Ranger Alliance, and Slice of Film on Thursday. Those alternate when they're on. Fridays is Superhero Discussions. Saturdays is Super Civil Servants. And Saturday and Sunday is Weird Science Comics, DC and Marvel Roundup. And on Monday nights, this show goes live, DC Alliance. On Tuesday nights, Marvel Alliance goes live. And on Friday nights, Super Civil Servants goes live. Boo, that's all of it. And we also have a Patreon account with $1 tier and a $5 tier. The $1 tier is a tip jar, basically helps keep the lantern charged, as I like to say, or the web shooters filled, as certain Marvel Alliance people like to say. And we have a $5 tier, which gets you early access to episodes, ad-free episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes. And don't worry, that Last of Ronin is coming, but whenever Kevin Eastman puts it down.
Well, I think some of us are planning, at least if in the next week or so, to record our hot takes on Future State and the kind of first month of Future State. So I know a couple of us, I know Clay and I and a few others have talked about getting that together. So at the very least, hopefully we'll be recording that in the next few weeks.
Yes, and I'm also trying to nail down something with Snell to do basically just some hot takes, hot topics, just some thoughts we have, go back and forth. I love chatting with him about some of our hotter takes. It's a good
Mhm.
time. So we're trying to line that up as well. So there're gonna be more, but as always, thanks for supporting and
Yes.
thanks for just even liking, retweeting, listening. Any support is greatly appreciated. So without further ado, Chris, I think we should get into the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, we'll put it so we'll do some magic at that point. So if you're
Okay, I'm
you're
gonna do
just
the Wayne's World. Okay, you're going to be listening to Chris Balga's interview with Sean O'Connell right now, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. Diddle-a-doo, 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 diddle-a-doo. Okay, Chris, that was a pretty amazing interview.
oh
Props to
wow,
you.
thank you.
Props to you, man. Props to you. I gotta say, uh, was it cool just getting to chat with him? Was he as nice and down to earth in person? Well, as in person as this is, compared to his like in his videos. Like I just find it like I found myself starting to try to chat with him, like he's on the couch shooting the breeze with me. So I wonder, is it like that in person? Is he kind of chill, down to earth?
Oh yeah, no, he's the impression I get from him on the videos that he puts out there and what he does is very nice. He was true to his word. Ask me anything at that point. I wasn't one of these interviewers or journalists that wants to trip them up and things like that. It was, you and Greg kind of came up with the questions at that point, and we got them all in just under the wire. Even stuck in, as you all heard at the end, a little Spider-Man action at that point. But it was great for him to take the time to talk about the book that's coming out in March. So just really nice guy.
That's great. And I gotta say, even though I'm DC Alliance host and I'm a super crazy Snyder fan for his DC films, I'm more excited about the Amazing Spider-Man book because I have no idea about the behind the scenes of that as much. Like I've followed this Justice League stuff since 2017. I know there's going to be some tidbits in here from like stuff he spoke with Zach and other people that I don't know about, but I know a lot of like what happened behind the scenes. But with Amazing Spider-Man, I have no idea, and there's so many things I've heard, but I don't. I've never done a deep dive, so I'm so excited for him to go with a second book. But I'm still excited to read this one as well.
Oh yeah, no. This is as you just heard at the end. He had gone on and said that this is basically the history of Spider-Man. So it's going to be looking at everything, including, and he talked about how he spent a lot of time on the set with on web set, so they have a very good relationship and things like that. So I'm very excited. If it doesn't come out this year, I fully agree with him. He's going to hold off maybe and put it in 2022 because we've got another Spider-Man movie coming out and he wants that a part of it. So I will be happy to wait. And, he's already said that, would love to come on Marvel Alliance. So I know a few of our listeners, namely Brent, would also like to jump on that show to talk a little Spider-Man action. So, but yeah, no, just, it was great to just even get 30 minutes with him at that point. And it's always nice to talk to someone, you and I, and a lot of people on this network are big into the Snyder, release the Snyder Cut movement and things like that. But hearing him as being the outsider looking in of how he came into this was just really interesting to me, and his takes on what's going on currently versus the future of where this hashtag release movement is going.
Yeah, and it's like I said, he's the outsider that came in, and is exactly how I want general audience people that find this topic to react. Like he realized, like it was how Zach was done pretty dirty, and like he dug deep into this and actually wanted to figure out everything rather than just reading some headlines or just one article. Like he dove deep, and you can really
Mhm.
appreciate that. And that's all people as Snyder fans and Snyder Cut fans will really are asking is just please just take a look at everything that happened and tell me that this guy doesn't
Oh yeah.
deserve to have his movie released. That's essentially what we're asking, what we were asking the entire
Mhm.
time. And like I said, I really enjoyed the fact that he came in and he got that right away. And he came out with this book. He talked to a lot of people in the know, uh, behind the scenes for the movement. And like I said, he's pretty synonymous with this whole thing now. So it must have been cool. Was there
And
anything he said that you didn't expect him to say?
um, I liked. he was very honest and upfront about like how long it took him to get like some of the main players in the movement, such as the Nerd Queens, Meg, some of the other big names at that point, because he spent a lot of time trying to prove he wasn't out to put another hit piece out there. Like I think
In
I said like the
Fritz.
Wall
In
Street
Fritz, yeah.
Journal, and it was the Wall Street Journal. I think it was
Yeah,
Wall
you're
Street
right.
or Forbes on it. And he's fine. He's fine having to prove it at that point. And with he sees some genuine just passion for this, and it'll just be interesting to see, because we as you heard, we talk about at the end of just like, is this a moment of time, or is there something to this that'll be moving on? And so we got into that as well, but it's it'll be good to just kind of see the book, read the book, and kind of see how the whole movement together, because you and I and a lot of listeners have, it'll be interesting to see what's new in the book. And I think one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to is Zach's interview. That's parsed, from what I understand, is parsed throughout the book, but some of the, as he hinted towards, like some of his quotes in there put a lot of different things in perspective. So
It'll be interesting to see, because people have always asked too, like, why doesn't Zach speak about this, or why doesn't Zach talk about this? So even if you got to ask him a couple of questions that people have been like wanting him to answer, will be nice, in my opinion.
I think one of the most interesting thing is when talking about Zach, I liked what he said, that a lot of times when people come after him or say things that are wrong or misleading, it's almost that some people have to, he has to be talked down from not coming after them to respond.
Yeah,
And I say, well, he's got a good group of not just like his devoted fans, but people like Jay Olivia that will
double.
knock him down a few pegs.
You mean jump from the top rope and deliver a flying elbow to whoever spits not facts about
Yeah.
everything? Is amazing. Whatever it is, a
So
Jay Oliva sighting.
yeah, I like hearing that, because I mentioned, James Gunn is kind of famous for occasionally tagging back, but never, it's always with tongue in cheek. It's never for, it's saying, hey, you're going to put this out there. Fine. You deserve to get made fun of. So
Yeah,
great interview. I look forward to, having a Marvel Alliance, and definitely would love to have him back on DC Alliance in the future.
yes, maybe a post Snyder cut discussion, because
Mm-hmm.
listeners, if you haven't checked out too, he does great things with Cineblin. I literally watched the video the other day. He does one with, I'm not sure her last name now. I want to say no, I'm not even going to take a guess at it. So it's great. So if anybody that isn't up on the Snyder Cut and you want to know some info going into it, there's a great set of, I want to say, 6 20-minute videos. They discuss the main players and the main villains and kind of what you might expect going into that. And like I said, that's something that I found him from his appearance on DC Film Squadcast, and then him getting into the movement and writing this book, like Chris said. uh, I I found him to be a genuine guy every time I've listened, and it's nice to hear Chris say he's had such a great experience with him. And like you said, he's got an open door with DC Alliance, and I'm sure at Marvel Alliance, anytime
Mm-hmm.
we can get him, we would have him.
Yep. As you said, he's a Marvel fan first, but he has complete also love for DC. So, I know he takes a little credit online about that, but you know what? Guess what? You're we both on this. You and I are both Marvel and DC fans. Some leaning more towards others, and but again, can't we have both?
I love it all, Chris. Like, I genuinely excited for Friday for WandaVision. It doesn't matter. And in March we get the Snyder Cut and we get Falcon and Winter Soldier. There for both. I feel bad for anybody that won't watch one because they like the other. I feel so sorry
Yes,
for those people. But yeah, so
that's
great,
fun. Yeah,
great interview, Chris. Thanks for being the
thank
DCA correspondent slash journalist slash guy in the sky there. So
you.
props to you there,
you,
and way
you
to
know,
handle the audible with class. With class.
oh yeah, well, it's we're put it out there. He put it out there saying anyone who wanted to ask him, and he's true to his word. So I like people like that. I say a lot of times, all you have in life is character, and he's got plenty of it. So he's got a defender. He's definitely got me as a defender in his corner.
Same here. I've nothing but great interactions with him. I guess we'll go from that into some Snyder news that dropped this week.
Wow, look at that transition. Look at that
I know.
smooth.
And we have basically, first of all, we have a thread from our friend Scott uh, from DC Film Squadcast,
Mhm.
basically putting everything that Zack Snyder has talked about the other day into a thread like he's normally used to doing, because Snyder was down working on Zack Snyder's Justice League. I want to say Sunday, yesterday that was.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yesterday.
it was Sunday and yeah, yesterday and it was well when you listen to this 2 days ago, but he always does this. He'll drop one thing and he'll be on for just a little bit of time and get questions in there. I even messaged Scott saying, "Good for you yet again putting this all together and getting a question put in there." And he said, "I was either the first or second person in there at that point put in a comment." And I said, "Go you, Scott."
I had to quote tweet it and give him the Wiser's gentleman clap for just doing it, because he puts these together every time, and he doesn't need to do it, so it's great. And we got some information that was floating around kind of the last couple weeks, rumors more than anything, nothing confirmed, but it's going to be a one-shot movie now, Chris. And I guess
Yep.
we should discuss this a little bit, because this has got a bit of traction for people complaining, because it's, first of all, it's a 4 hour movie.
Wait. Fans in the DC community or outside the DC community complaining?
Shocked.
No.
Shocked. Like, I personally, I just gotta say that I understand and think it would be better building momentum and maybe more views if you did it weekly with the episodic thing. But it was originally intended as a movie, and they had to basically do some magic to like end one episode and transition into another. So you don't have to do that, and you just give me what you intended it to be like. I'm okay. And for well, no, not Americans, because it'll be on VOD. For anybody complaining, you're either watching it on a streaming service or watching it on video on demand. You can pause it if it gets too long to watch. So, like,
Eh,
I haven't
well,
watched
I
Lord of the
mean,
Rings, but I watched Titanic in one sitting several times.
well, people give a lot of guff in the sense of, yes, this was supposed to be a series. Well, that was then. And when Warner Brothers and Keelar made basically Jason Keelar at AT&T, made the decision to, hey, we're moving everything day and date there. That changed the game. But here's the thing: Zach he had gone on record many times and said there would be a supercut. In the end, he was always making a supercut of this to be released either like after all 4 episodes had dropped. And like you said, I mean, people binge 10-hour shows at that point and don't blink an eye. Yes, this is kind of like we don't, we have Endgame that was over 3 hours at that point. Um, we can get into a debate of how sometimes Marvel is treated a little differently and sometimes a lot differently than how DC coverage is. But it's one of those things that, again, I think it's just people like saying groaning just to groan. It's the same detractors as usual. And as I put out there on Twitter yesterday, says, all right, I've heard the complaints. It's 4 hours, not a series. It's this, it's not that. How about this? We still get Zack Snyder's Justice League. How about them apples? We still get it. I take it in a series. I'll take it as a movie. Yes, if we want it, we'd always theorized if it was continuing with a series, it would be, best to release it in the middle of the month, continue it the next month. You get 2 months worth of subscriptions. You know what? It changed. It wasn't too much of a difference for him. I'm always curious to see when this call was made, because we know it wasn't just a last minute decision at that point. So again, we still get the Snyder cut. It's still happening.
That's the biggest point there, Chris. It's still happening. We're getting it, and just enjoy it. I know people are already asking more now. I'm just ready to enjoy that 4 hours that I thought I would get in 20 years, 15
Yeah.
years. So like, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna kick my feet up, and I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of that. And I'm gonna podcast about it right after. So I feel sorry
Yeah,
for people that aren't good, even if you don't enjoy it. But and the thing about not earning this, because in game like took so many movies to do their longest movie, like Titanic was a one movie thing, Gone with the Wind. I'm not saying like those are classics. So I'm not
Avatar.
putting Avatar. I'm not putting it on there without having seen it. I'm just saying like you can't box anything in. They gave him the money. They allowed him to make it this length. That's the way it is. And that
Yeah.
sometime in the future we're gonna get, guess what? Sometime in the next 20 years, we're going to get a 4.5 hour line movie. And then sometime in 20 years after that, we're going to get a 5 hour line movie because that's how
Yeah,
these
didn't
things work.
Keelar say something to that effect? I almost remember he was talking about like what would be the new norm on a New York Times podcast at that point.
Well,
It was
essentially, that's
interesting.
what most ideas for most shows come up with are their movie ideas, and then they want to tell more of the story. So they dive into a show so they can tell 20 hours of it instead of two. Like that, I can't count how many shows I listened to where showrunners talked about. We initially had this idea as a movie, but when we talked about the characters, we want to dive deep into the story, and blah 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 blah. We got a show out of it. So, like I
Yeah.
said, super excited for the show. Was super excited for the show. Now super excited for the movie. Was gonna watch 4 1 hours back to back when I got them anyway. So at
Hmm.
this point, I don't have to do that. Uh, but I am getting the feeling they just want to get this out there and be done with it. Part of WB does, but people just watch this, please. If you can, watch it.
Yeah, and you know what? If this is all we get his vision, we get his version of this. Okay, yes, he didn't get to finish his trilogy, but you know what? Nothing in history, nothing would have happened like this if it weren't for the movement and just the people listening and the changeover and some leadership. And yes, we've gotten cuts like this in the sense of the Donner cut and things like that, but you know we could always do the what if game left and right. If this is it, let's be happy with what we got. And if we don't get the next version in a comic form or a miniseries, whatever, we still get Zack Snyder's Justice League. It didn't turn out the way we wanted it to in the sense of no trilogy. But again, I'm there. I'm sure, there's going to be even further analysis left and right of this as we go on. But as Zach said, the biggest thing of the movement is not this movie. It's the amount of money donated to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Autumn's name.
Yeah.
That will always be the biggest legacy of the movie. This toxic fandom, all this kind of stuff. Forget all that. It is the legacy that we will continue to put up as the best thing from this movement is the amount of money that is literally saving lives, as he so eloquently put it.
I couldn't have said it any better, Chris. And also to that effect, like, it gets frustrating with me at times about this whole thing. Uh, I'm just going to move on. So there was more. Someone asked him if he was working on the sound, and he said he was working on the color. And someone asked him, "Did you frame JL in the 133.1 aspect ratio when you first shot it?" And he said, "Yes." And there's a couple more. These will be rapid fire. Uh, Also, we need this in theaters. It's the best, most ideal way. I'm from Nigeria and we don't have HBO Max or the rest. And he said, I want that for you. Well, I still think it's really funny that he doesn't quite know everything that's happening for uh, the movie, like in terms of how it's getting released.
Well, I don't necessarily. I mean, he'll have
Or
some
maybe he
ideas,
can't
but
release
that's
it. Yeah. Maybe he can't
well,
talk about it.
it's still when it comes down to it, it's Warner Brothers property. They
That's
have
true.
divisions for that. They have divisions for that. He'll get some information, but he doesn't control that.
Yeah. You're right about that, Chris. I just I feel like there should be more communication with them to him.
Now
Uh,
let's just look at that statement right there. Warner Brothers
yeah,
communicating
that's
PR department.
they hired a new
We can go
PR
off
person.
about that.
Uh, yeah, so it's 4 hours on movie, solid 4 hours. Not that's before credits. That was stated too. Just trying to see if there's any. Is Zack Snyder's Justice League still uncompromised? We really worry. He says, not even in the face of Armageddon. Oh my, just it's so funny sometimes. Uh, I don't know. There wasn't much else.
Yeah, I think they did ask, and I think he's answered this question before, but no post credit scene.
Yeah,
He's never been a post credit scene guy, but everyone in the age of post credits, someone's got to ask it, and so yeah, I wasn't expecting one either.
same. And someone asked, "Are all the VFX done?" And he basically said he got a handful of shots left coming in. So
So
this
we're
this
almost at he's almost at picture wrap. So
we're getting there. We're getting there, Chris. I couldn't be more
yeah,
excited. I
I
guess.
guarantee you he's gonna have another one in the next week or so on Vero where it's wrapped. Like he will put another one out there when it is.
Yeah, you're right. And we're going to get a poster soon. And like they're still giving Wonder Woman 84 a little bit more time to breathe. That only came out
Mhm.
a little over 2 weeks ago. Like we're getting to 3 weeks now. So uh
Yep. You only
that's
got listeners if you got HBO Max. You only got it till this through this weekend.
yeah. And I watched it twice in my I rented it, so I watched it twice. And I didn't enjoy it more the second time, unfortunately. But still, like it's a solid 6.5 for me. I enjoyed the same
Mhm.
parts that I enjoyed. I still had the issues that I hadn't had, but get out and watch this as much as possible. Just if you have HBO Max, just press play and go do your day. Maybe if you got repeat, I don't think there's a repeat function on there, but it would be pretty cool if there was.
Be
I,
interesting.
one more little bit of news, I guess, is Ben Affleck had some high praise for Kevin Feige that caused some people to go crazy, which is very laughable for me. He just said that Effer knows his audience like no producer. He's a genius, which I love. Some people are like, "Oh my god, he's trying to jump uh, to Marvel," but in all honesty, Ben Affleck's getting close to 50 now. I think he's done with superhero movies for the most part. Like
Well,
I don't think he's ready to jump into a new franchise anytime
he
soon.
he he worked with Feige on the Daredevil movie. He knows Feige. I
And
mean, I don't know
he's a,
how close they are, but you know, he can see good work. He can see, say what you want about the MCU, and we've said it over and over again. Like it, hate it, you can't argue with the track record.
no, and
It is
he's
what
a
it
really
is.
good director. He's produced some really solid things as well. He's just like I say, he just tapped with somebody else in the field as a producer, as a like Feige has this aura of uh, I want to say awesomeness about him right now, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I don't think this is him auditioning for anything. Like I heard people say, I would love for to see Ben Affleck's Daredevil as in one of the Earths in Tobey Maguire's Earth if he's in Spider Man. Like would never say no to that, but got me doubts. I just think this was a compliment thing. But yeah, I just wanted to put it in there because I found it really funny that people got up in arms about this.
Again, people up in arms with anything between DC and Marvel. This is my shocked face.
Okay, Chris. So I guess with that shock face, let's take a little break before we get into the other big thing of this evening, the Batwoman season 2 premiere.
Mhm.
Okay, listeners, we're going to be quick as possible. These ads help keep the lights on, and they'll be short and sweet. We'll be back shortly, and we're back. Okay, Chris. This is something that I was a little bit apprehensive to say the least when I was going to go
I think we
into
both were.
start watching this because uh, I finished watching Batwoman and I spoiled myself before because the finale the big moments from the finale came out and I watched
Mhm.
them and I was like, oh my god, I got to get in on this. Like Bruce Wayne's coming, not really Bruce Wayne, but like we got a face to Bruce Wayne now in DCCW. uh, Alice is there ready to face off with Kate. Jacob's there ready to shoot Kate. Like there's so much. Kate has a kryptonite, the one thing that can
Yep.
take Supergirl down, and one thing that can harm the suit apparently. And
Yeah, which I always found interesting. It was just like, oh, okay, well, there we are.
so and they don't really talk much about Batman's bat suit being basically as powerful as Superman and strong as Superman, or like they
Yeah.
really kind of play with it here in terms of like where she's. Well, we'll get into that when we get into that. But I am just before we get into it, what were your overall thoughts on the premiere?
I Yeah, I thought it was, a good premiere. I'm still in the camp of wait and see. they this was always a tricky thing that they had to do because yeah, they've had, a little bit of time to deal with, Ruby Rose not coming back, and there's such a shock and surprise about that. And so the things they had planned, even, again, they plan out seasons upon seasons outwards to kind of play the end goal. Well, they had to change everything. So I'm there's some janky stuff going on in here, but again, I chalk that up to, okay, they got to do a lot of things. They've got to find, the big thing is, what are we going to do with Kate Kane? What are we going to do with Batwoman? How are we going to introduce Ryan Wilder? What are we going to do with this Bruce Wayne? Because everything changed at
Yeah,
that point,
you essentially got
and so
positioned everything towards Ryan and now instead of Kate.
yeah, and find a way to plausibly and believably work that out. Again, we say that believable, and again, a superhero. So you gotta have to do an air of just, making sure that you can have a idea. So some things I take a little bit of like, I don't know if that worked out that well, but head canon it. We have to move the story along, and the producers have gone on said eh, eh, they want an opportunity for Ruby Rose to come back at some point. So, which is why they're doing what they're doing.
And thank you for pointing that out because that was one of my biggest takeaways from this was that it leaves they did everything possible to a like let Ruby Rose have an opportunity to come back if she ever wanted to, and B go away to not hurt the character at all.
Hmm.
And I like that. I'm glad they did that. But as we spoke about off air, I think that them doing that and them letting her out of her uh, contract. I know you don't want an unhappy star on set, but you can
Yeah.
also be. If anybody watched Entourage before, studios can really mess with you if you try to screw with them. Like don't if you don't want to do Aquaman 2 right away,
Yeah.
they can just bury you. So they could have done this here, which they didn't do. They could have really went out of their way to like go at Ruby Rose for just trying to get out of contract earlier when you agreed to such and such
Hmm.
time. So I respect that, and I'm glad they did that. I wish Ruby Rose would have came back to do the voiceover at the very end, just because it just
Yeah.
felt
That
wrong hearing a
just
different voice doing that.
didn't even sound like her
It didn't hit
either. It was
any
just,
emotional beats for Sophie to me, for me anyway,
yeah.
because it wouldn't if it was her reading it out, it would have hit so much better. And I don't know if I would like to know if they reached out at all. That would be I don't will never hear the details about it, but I would really love to know because it's just not something I don't see Ruby Rose doing if it's just a minute and a half of recording your audio. But I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe they just find a cool break. And if you're trying to distance yourself from her, having her talk in this episode, I can understand both sides of the camp. It's just it didn't sound right for me that ending, and that's just something. But mainly, I want to say is I loved the Ryan Wilder stuff, and I was surprised that I
Yeah.
did. Loved the character's backstory, loved the actress. The only problems I had mainly were the stuff that didn't have anything to do with her. So that's a positive for me that I'm going to go forward with this show is that they're going to smooth things out. It's going to take a little while because everything was geared towards one person and you're changing that but not changing the character. So
Yeah.
you
I
kind of
mean,
need
you,
to
you
change motivations.
you and I have said this on air and off air that we thought it was the dumbest decision to not recast, in the sense of, keep the character, different person playing it. We've
Yeah.
seen it numerous times at that point. But again, you and I have both also said that we're going to give her a chance. We're going to see if what they can do and see how good they can meld this in. A little janky in the beginning of how it worked out. But again, this is CW. This is not, Netflix. This is not HBO. So again, we have to they would take the good with the bad and we just chalk it up to CW being CW. So
You're right about that too, Chris. And I just hope that eventually this character like becomes commonplace and like is loved because I would love for like little girls, like especially like young women of color, to be able to look up
yeah.
to Batwoman and have stories in the comics with Ryan Wilder being this character and this orientation and this color and race and everything, just to give more people representation.
Mhm.
I'm all in for that. And like I said, they got me because I really enjoyed everything with
Mhm.
her, and I want to hear more about her backstory.
Yeah.
So it's all interesting to me. So I guess we'll dive in a little bit here.
Well,
Uh,
one thing before we do that, I think the thing that sold me, the moment it sold me as her as a character, is when she listed off the statistics to them. That moment right there, I said, okay, I buy you now as someone who feels like you can do good, even if it's there's this one moment in the suit, you can do some good, and that's a, okay. You got me with that. I'm willing to, because again, I didn't come in like, oh, it's not Ruby Rose, not Kate Kane. I didn't come in with that. I was just saying they know how much is on the line with the future of the show. If this first episode didn't land as well, was the most outstanding first episode returned back? No, but it definitely got me to say, okay, I'm not going to bolt immediately. You got me for definitely for this season, but man, that speech was very powerful that she gave.
yes, it was, and that was one of her shining moments. I found like every time she spoke, she had any sort of time, she stole the scenes for me, stole. And when they would cut away from her story, I would want more of it. Uh, I gotta say, I like it. Like even the flashing back and forth with her post traumatic stress disorder from the whole event with with the Alice's gang, and and her mother and the landlord. Just to see that when the plane crashed, and
Yeah.
just to see it go back and forth, but to see her still like power through it and then throw up afterwards, like, after the whole scene, I just love that. And I wasn't sure if it was going to be Kate's plane. I assumed it was going to be like the Bat plane crashed if it would have been Kate. So I had no idea with the private jet, and I was surprised to see that the Bat suit was just laying there, but there's no Kate Kane. Thus, immediately I thought, okay, they completely kept the door open for her return. But I didn't expect to for us to get like a full blown like search and rescue effort right away after this first scene. Like
Yeah.
that was surprising me. I didn't expect to see that.
No, it was, again, you could tell, just Kate's absence is going to be very much felt this season, obviously for, again, for reasons, but, it's going to be interesting to wrestle how the balance goes with the search for Kate Kane and, the rise of Ryan Wilder as Batwoman. And it's going to be a very interesting balance. Again, we've got both cousins that have now disappeared.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, that's a pretty good segue there, Chris, because only one cousin has disappeared, if as far as people of Gotham are concerned, because we have our first appearance in the DCCW of Bruce Wayne, and I'm not gonna lie, first time I thought I would see first time I thought when I saw Bruce Wayne on screen in an action scene, did not think I would see him singing Jingle Bells, Batman Smells rather than Light May. Not gonna lie, I know it's not Bruce Wayne, but he looks like Bruce Wayne, and I
Yeah.
I was just like, this has happened. They're leaning into
Yep.
it, so
Hmm.
I enjoyed it actually. I gotta say, I kind of enjoyed that and the humor, and him just wanting to be Bruce Wayne's last Batman. I could really enjoy that whole thing there. But the frustrating thing was he's done. Is the jig is up. That could have been a jig that could have went on 5 episodes
And
or 10
it might
episodes.
have, it might have.
Yeah, that's true too. They because now I find that they might have just from watching this show. I find that they might have switched things around to give uh, Tommy Elliott like the easy catch because Pennyworth catches her. She catches him right away,
Yeah.
literally 10 minutes. And sorry, that makes Luke. That
which is
makes
good,
Luke
which is good for her, because again, it's one of those tropes I'd saying, we use it all the time. Like, how the heck does the best reporter in the world not know that Clark Kent is Superman?
good for
I have
her.
my reasons, but I'm just saying it's along those lines.
Really bad for Luke. Really, really bad for Luke. Here's the Batcave, sir. Come on
I know.
in.
Oh my gosh.
Not like you could be Clayface or any rogue or like metahuman or various other things in this world.
And that's my little complaint at that point. But again, someone had to be the one to go down. But I just don't know. I don't like it that it was Luke
Yeah.
that got hoodwinked on this one. I
Well,
that's one of my complaints on. I know someone had to do it, but I just don't like that it was Luke.
I don't like that. Essentially, this whole episode is him playing the blame game with, and in the final 5 minutes of it, it does give. it does give Mary one of her better moments
Mm-hmm.
of the episode when she gives her advice. But still, when she gives him advice, but still, I got fooled twice. Was really, especially with how quickly Pennyworth like nailed that down and caught him.
Yeah.
I props to her, like you said. It just goes to give that character a little bit of extra. But I totally could see that was definitely shoved into this episode to move that along, rather than if you had Kate Kane there, maybe after a couple episodes, she would realize something that somebody else didn't pick up on, or he didn't remember a memory that she knew that he would remember. Something like that. I just assumed that they switched it around like that, but I
Yeah.
understand why you can't. Like Bruce Wayne means nothing to Ryan Wilder, so
Correct.
he's only going to be stealing scenes. And not gonna lie, I did look for Bruce Wayne. I really enjoyed the parts that Tommy Elliott was in it playing Bruce Wayne, so I can see why they had to get rid of him in this first episode.
Yeah, it was a good thing because I was wondering if they was and how it was going to work out in that sense. But you're right. I mean, this is now the season of Ryan Wilder. We can't have too much because, like you said, Bruce is nothing to her, and it's he was going to get found out eventually. So I was not expecting this to continue beyond like 2 or 3 more episodes. So it's over.
Same.
But I doubt we obviously have not seen the last of Hush and Tommy Elliott. So I think we'll probably see him come back later this season. I think the actor has done a good job. I think it more impressed me seeing because I was a little apprehensive about the character when he was first introduced, but the episode when he became the full Hush regalia at that point, it says, "All right, you got that."
Question: at some point before DCCW ends, do you? I can't say do you want, because I know you want. Will you be disappointed if you don't see Bruce Wayne slash Batman, or Bruce Wayne? I won't say Batman. Bruce Wayne, like this, because I'm really curious to see this actor because he looks really great for
He
Bruce Wayne.
does.
Like, so I'm really interested to see how he switches it up, because Tommy Elliott was playing Bruce Wayne a bit more like jovial, like kind of loving that he was Bruce Wayne and Batman, like enjoying his life, which we know Bruce
Yeah,
doesn't do. So
yeah.
I'm just curious that that guy
Hooking up
definitely
with
has to.
two randos.
Yeah, that was I was like, oh my god. And I'm just curious, like how he's going to change his voice, how he's going to change his mannerisms. Like I want to see all of that at some point. So you kind of opened up Pandora's box there a little bit last season, even introducing him. So I hope at some point we get the return of Bruce Wayne. But I know, like I said, it's Batwoman, and now we have another Batwoman that we have to build up. So I got my doubts I'll be seeing that. But still, even if I don't, I'll always have the memory of him singing "Jingle Bells, Batman Smells Right Away Now."
Who would have thought? It's always the issue with Smallville, Supergirl. You know, all
I have
those.
one point.
You have one
Where's
point.
your,
Okay.
where's your Walmart Batman now, mother? Oh, Arrow Walmart Batman. Tell me
Yeah,
who's Walmart Batman now.
yeah. It's would I love to see it? Yes. I just don't know. Kind of like you said, without K Kane there, it makes it harder to bring it in. I would love to see at maybe the end of the series, maybe him coming back. We still don't have all the answers of his disappearance. You know, it's got to be like with everything. I don't like things getting shoehorned in to be shoehorned. I liked how they worked in with Tyler Hoechlin into Supergirl. It worked well. It worked when it needed to work. Now he's got his own spinoff show, which I'm glad. This is something that we haven't seen outside of, okay, the end of Gotham and, the animated series. We haven't really seen too much of a live action series carried by Batman, you know? And it just seems to be very interesting that he has been relegated to movies or animation versus live action. Because, like I said, in Gotham, it was the end of the series. That's the closest we've come, and to much to everyone's chagrin or excitement. Um, it's always interesting that character has basically just been theatrical only. And if we do get it on, I mean, even in Titans, we haven't seen, what's his face dress up as. We've seen actors from the shadows or the back. So that, in my mind, that really doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
So,
You just got to stunt. You don't have the man behind the cowl. You
yeah.
just got essentially the action that is Batman. That's all.
So,
There.
so I find that's a very fascinating thing to look at is that why Batman is theatrical, but Superman seems to be, I mean, name the shows. How many shows Superman has been on TV for? He can do it. Why can't Batman?
You're preaching to the choir here, Chris. Although, like I said, all this Batman has to be in the movies. I'm pretty sure I don't know if we get the DCCW as it is without all that because we wouldn't have had Green Arrow in Smallville. There wouldn't have been
Yeah.
a bit of a
Hmm.
like, you know what I mean? But really would wish back then that I could have seen Batman and Superman in Smallville.
Because even
Uh,
we're getting that Gotham Central, that what I'm calling Gotham Central on HBO Max. It's still another show. Batman's first year, that show is not going to be focused on Batman. It is focused on GCPD.
and Chris, I'm be honest with you, I'd be more interested to see Bruce show up on Superman and Lois than I would
Yeah.
on this Batwoman show
Yep.
because I don't know. I don't know. Have we ever heard Clark say anything about Batman or Bruce Wayne? A throwaway
Supergirl said
line?
it. Supergirl has said it. It's like my cousin's dark friend or something along those lines at that point. So we know he exists on at that time, that particular Earth.
Yeah.
You know, and so we haven't seen like that Superman and Lois show. It'd be interesting to see the effects of Crisis and what they mention versus what they don't. I
Yeah.
guarantee you, we will at least hear. I'm putting as my boss tells me, free cup of coffee in the break room bet where we will hear at least one utterance of Bruce Wayne and or Batman in this show. But that's it. It'll just be a throwaway reference to get everyone to say, "Ooh, he said it. He exists. Yay."
Oh my. You're right too. Uh, but I still, like I said, I anytime I'll take that. And you don't have, I know you'd have to explain it more for the people that didn't see this or wouldn't understand, but you're in the same universe. You kind of gotta go with the flow on that. So I hope one day we get Batman in there. I want to see him in the suit because, like you said, I don't know why he's like theater only. We're having two different Batman, well, potentially
Well,
three.
I think that would be very interesting in the sense to kind of look at, and I think they're very obvious reasons, in that sense, but it it would almost be like what has been put out there to try to do it that wouldn't be like a rehashing. Do you want? I mean, I remember at one time it was talked about do we want to do a Smallville like is Batman? And I was like, do we really need to rehash that? Because again, I think that's you have to bring something new to the
Gotham.
table, and it. but again, that wasn't supposed to be they brought in Bruce Wayne, but again, it wasn't his show. It was Jim Gordon's show that happened to have Bruce Wayne in it. So we kind of got that maybe.
We did that at the end of the last couple seasons. It was more a Bruce Wayne show.
And that's where that's where I find it interesting. It's just because Gotham was very muddled, and that's putting it lightly. But
you're very kind.
I'm very kind on that. But again, I give that show and I credit Ray and Branch on turning me around when they did a whole retrospective before the last season came on, and I gave it another shot, and they were right on the money. That is this the best iteration that we have seen of Batman? No, it was very interesting. Did they really take the idea of we're taking ideas and concepts and running with it? Oh, you better believe it. But again, as we like that meme from Ben Affleck, we're talking about fictional characters.
We haven't had Batman on TV since 1966. Or
Could the
whatever.
costume have been better in Gotham? Yes.
Yes.
It was what we got on a Fox budget.
Not gonna lie, any issues I had with whatever the costume looked like went out the door when I seen how Joker looked. Like I kind of didn't care about how Batman looked when Joker kind of looked like something from I don't know the Trolls movie, not the one that come out
Tales
for
from the Crypt.
Yeah, like honestly, that's what he looked like. Tales from the Crypt Keeper. There you go, Chris. So,
yep,
not complaining about that, but we went down a complete side tangent there with Batwoman.
Yeah, it's okay.
But that's fine. So yeah, I kind of like how this is affecting different characters. Like Jacob is going through hell for a second time. Alice is kind of on the rocks as well, like completely loaded and not making any sense. Luke blames himself, and Mary can't really come to terms or acceptance with any of it.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, Alice, moving forward, just because of, I know they're trying to shoot, in my opinion, right now, kind of shoehorn her in the sense of Ryan Wilder's origins. At that point, it's very plausible. It is very plausible. It's an easy excuse, but it's obviously not going to have the same punch as Sisters at the
No,
opposite end of the spectrum. So I'm very interested to see, because Alice has been one of the best characters on this show. I was very apprehensive about it in the beginning, but they stuck the landing many times with their characters. So I'm a little concerned about where she fits in and how long she's going to be a part of this show past this season.
I couldn't agree more, Chris. And she was my favorite part of the show. Absolutely loved her last season, and I think this main season is going to be her going after who she thinks is Kate's killer. We got that at the end there. He basically said that like he did it. That's essentially what I got from that anyway.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be it. But like you said, I don't really see much of a future after this season from that storyline. Like I could see that being a like a suicide mission type thing where she takes that guy out and takes herself out, or takes herself out to reappear whenever Kate comes back. Who knows?
She's at a restaurant in Paris, and they're gonna have a moment.
There you go. Well, I know somebody who won't be joining them, and that's Jacob, because Alice straight up pulls Elisa from The Simpsons and destroys his heart, and you can actually see the moment where Jacob's heart explodes. Like he's crushed when she finds out she's Batman. She's Batwoman, and you knew what I'm talking about. And he's just crushed. And his last time he was with her, he was pointing the gun directly at her. So that's like she crushed him. She body bagged him. She like the memes of the people being like, stop it, he's already dead. That's what I got out of that. Like I felt so bad for Jacob. I'm like, how can you lead a group of like mercenary security cops now? Like, he's a shell of himself. So I'll be interested to see how he goes on from here. This is very Mary tried to basically give him some motivation to get off his ass and try and find her, but after hearing
put on your big boy pants and let's go.
I think he's done after this. I could see him going at a dark path, a dark destructive path.
That's apparently in some circles, that's a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Oh, look, we're crossing over Star Wars Alliance. We're picking your content out here. But I think that's about it for me for things. I was like the Batmobile.
That was cool.
Yes.
It was very sleek.
It was kind of sloppy how they did it, of the guy just shooting a couple sticky bombs at the wall to find the second sticky bomb found the entrance. Yeah. kind of slapped together, but when you see the Batmobile, everything goes out the window for that, in my opinion. I love the look of it.
Reasons, plot movement. It was, it's a cool looking car. It's definitely not. It's not even close to my favorite Batmobiles, because it's just a black sleek car without much Batman-esque things to it. If there is, it's very subtle. So it's just a really fast sports car to me,
with some missiles.
There's more character to the Batman with with Pattinson than there is with this one.
Oh yes, 100%. And there was those missiles, the CG on those missiles. It's same level as Crypto when he caught that rocket in Titans last season, or Bazooka.
Watch your mouth about Crypto. He's a godsend to these people.
Love him. Just that was grade 12 VFX there on the catch and throwback. Even though I loved it.
CW.
Yeah, it's true too. But I like I said, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the chase and the Batmobile in general. And I'll be really interested to see her have the Batmobile and her take on it. I hope they do a little bit of red in there and make it more Batwoman centric.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had to look up seeing when the other CW shows drop. This is kind of carrying this DC CW for a couple more weeks, which is interesting. So I don't have cable. I have an antenna and I do streaming. So I didn't see a lot of promotion of this, even on the circles that I subscribe to. So I hope that they ramp it up a bit, just because, again, this is, we need, a lot of people don't know new shows are coming back. I always talking with my wife, this show's back in, because we look at our Hulu. Oh, I didn't know that came back. So, I mean, you have that, but they do still look at live audience versus streaming at that point, even though live is not as important, but still, I would have expected just a little more fanfare trying to kind of get people to say, hey, DCCW is back.
No, in their defense, they were up against the juggernaut of the NFL postseason, so I don't even know promoting it how much that was going to help. Uh, but I didn't see much of it either, Chris. I gotta say, I I don't know. So just thought we would see more.
Well, Katie is in the chat.
Oh, hi,
Welcome, Katie.
Kitty.
She apparently she heard our Star Wars reference at that point, but she says I think they're trying to give her a spotlight. She apparently has seen a crap load of spots, so I think it's what your FBI agent says at that point. um, it's yeah. I mean, like I said, I would have expected a little more social media at that point, but I mean, again, I could have just missed out on it. I just maybe they'll be a little bit more forthcoming, but I'm glad Katie's seeing it. It's just
Yeah, I
so
haven't.
many hours of the day.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, Katie. So I guess I gotta follow the Batwoman account. Maybe that's the one that's tweeting out that I'm not getting. But
How about you like her tag back on the rap, the actress? That was cool.
I have that story brought up because I want to discuss it because the rap has the post put back up, but there is no tag of her in the post this time.
Oh, they had the audacity to tag her?
They tagged her, and that's what all the fallout came from.
Oh,
And then
dang.
they reposted it. They redid it. She's not tagged in it anymore. And the guy, this is what drives
I
me.
didn't realize they tagged her in it.
This is what drives me. Not only that, when they tagged her, the people, which I loved, they ride or died for her and went for the author of the article.
Mhm.
And the classic move that I hate is, well, I just wrote the article. I never had anything to do with the tweet or they'll come after me kind of deal, which is such a joke because he's an editor and he did write, I will pass along the message to my supervisors and let them know the people. I didn't compose this. It's not right to tag her. Oh, give me a
Q,
break. Give me a
Q,
break.
Q Peter Griffin. Well, time to be hitting the old dusty trail. Oh, there's a fire escape.
Yeah, like it's oh my. But I love that she actually posted after to Chris. She
Mhm.
thanked the fans
Yeah. Well,
for rotting for her.
she had a classy response at that point, and as I expected. And again, good for her. Kudos, because guess what? She's going to take this moment and make it her own. And I say bravo. Good for her.
Well, she said, "Wow, I didn't expect that at all. Thank you so much for holding people accountable, and that's holding that author accountable because I don't care. You just don't say, yeah, well, I don't control it. So you have no say in this company that you work for at all whatsoever. You can't be like, yeah, can
Yeah.
we be a little less greasy and tagging the person like it's not her fault? And what really drove me about this was the so disingenuous headline to get people to click when they were up against Brady versus Breeze NFL playoffs. Like they put that in the article. Literally, the first line is they went up against Brady versus Breeze, so nobody can win. And you left that out
Yeah.
and you just put in 80% drop. But I had that in because I wanted to ask you something because I was talking with Brent at direct messagely earlier, and I asked him,
Mhm.
since this pandemic, do we think movie ratings should go up or should go down? Because there have been cases like with The Last Dance, with live sporting events and stuff where we have like they've broken records or they've done really well in terms of viewers. So I don't know, like where people are forced to stay home, should we expect the same at the very least the same level, or should we expect a lot higher or a lot lower? But like I couldn't come to a we neither one of us could really come to a like we said we kind of would think it would be higher, but we can't like without the other factors we can't really say that for certain.
Well, I'd say it might be higher in the sense of because I just kind of told you it's like we check out our Hulu accounts, like oh, there this dropped or this dropped, so it's kind of like one of those moments to kind of respond back to Katie said, writers typically don't have that. Some editors don't have permissions to the social, don't know who the writer was, but just saying. We got Stu Little in the chat as well. I kind of
What
laughed
up,
at this because
Stu?
I was wondering this too. Can we talk about all they need to preserve Mouse's body so well is a couple of sheets of cardboard. I
Ye-
laughed so hard when I saw that. I was like, oh, he's so well preserved with that. My goodness, the sewer
Oh,
systems work wonders.
I was like, just when I thought she was making a little bit more sense, she goes and does something like this, and totally makes me think she's bat crap crazy again. Like wrapped his arm
Again, I
around
think
her and snugged in. Like I was like, oh, look at her. She just gave her father his business and like let him know that he was being wrong. Oh, look, no, now she's cuddling up to a dead body. So yep, back to Alice mode.
yeah, you're right on that one, Stu. It was
It's weird to say
I
the
don't know how
least.
long he's been down there, but yeah, decomp is amazing with just cardboard pizza boxes.
Like show us, Chris, show us some air conditioners or something. Like rocking in there. At least keep them cold or something. But I'm excited for the next episode. I gotta say, I'll be really excited. I'm gonna give it a review. The other thing, does she have kryptonite poisoning? Before we wrap this up,
Looks like something. I was kind of glad they went back to that and had that because I was just because I picked up on it in the sense of like when she said, "Oh, let me look at you." Nope, nope, I'm good. I was like, all right, she's hiding something. So I'm glad they acknowledged that she's got some sort of kryptonite poisoning getting ready to happen to her. So it'll be, another B plot going on of how long she's going to be able to hide this.
well, it'll force her to go back to Luke and Mary. So that'll be the thing that brings them together. Hopefully, they don't like drag the feet very long on making her Batwoman. It seemed
Yeah,
like, especially when they were researching everything about her, it seems like they had like it seems like Mary's already in the camp of yeah, but with the past mistakes Luke made, the last like how down the dumps he was last episode, I didn't see him signing off on that right away.
yeah, he's going to definitely. I got burned once, twice already in the last season or so. So he's gonna be more watchful, and that's fine. I can buy that at that
I
point.
have one other question. Do you think with the events of what happened here, with him thinking that he was like, Kate, you got to go and destroy this kryptonite and you got to do this and Kate, you got to do it. I'm not comfortable. And she went. So he blames himself, but obviously we know it's
Yeah.
not his fault. Do you think this might be the push that he needs to become a hero himself?
Maybe, but we're a season plus away from going down that route. I don't know if we're at I don't know if we're at Batwing for a little while because again, it's Batwoman, but again, we have all the Arrow, Supergirl that have it, but again, that has now pushed that idea probably at least another season or two away.
Yeah, like I assume eventually it'll be Team Batwoman because
Mhm.
every show does it. They like
And it's Batman. Look at the Bat family. So
yeah,
I think that would be a good tip of the hat to that lineage at that point. Stu's putting in the chat. I appreciated Alfred being confirmed. I definitely did too.
same.
They've really been vague as the status of a number of supporting characters, like Jim Gordon is supposedly retired. That's never been mentioned from what I recall.
That has
So.
a point that I was wanting to say too, because Jacob is talking to the commissioner,
Mhm.
and we don't get names or anything like that. It's just commissioner and hangs up phone. You think we could get Commissioner Gordon this season at all? You think that we may
Commissioner
actually see
Barbara
him?
Gordon.
That could be that as well. Like there's so many
I'd take a tip
things.
of the hat to Batman Beyond.
Well, there's so many things here that you could even do without uh, doing Commissioner Gordon. Like there's so many. You have Damien. You have so many that you
Yeah,
just gotta get through this season. You have to establish her, and you have to get the fans to like fall in love with this character. And I think there's still so much that this show can. I was a lot more worried before I watched this episode to the fate
hmm
of this show after this season. I still think there's a lot there, and I'm hoping that they keep up with it because, like I said, I'm really invested in the Ryan Wilder character right now.
yeah. I think they did a good job with it. We will wait and see how they build up the story. We're gonna have a few more uh, legacy Batman characters in this season as we expect. So that's what I always look forward to with shows like this. Is which Batman characters are going to be coming on.
Also, for my Marvel Alliance co-host there, whoever wrote Iron Man 3, take note when you try on a new suit that you're not really used to, you're not flawless victory at it right away. So just want to give that heads up because she's floating around getting shot at and fell around 8 times. And I enjoy that because she has no training with the suit. And that's the kind of things I like to see. That's just, I know we're talking comic book characters here. So saying like grounded or accurate is like really stretching the term there because I'm believing in
Yeah.
like Batwoman. But I do like that kind of stuff where you have no training, you don't shine right away. It takes a while,
Mhm.
which I don't like when people like Felicity puts on the Atom suit one time, goes and saves the main hero of the show from dying, and no questions are asked about how you operate this suit perfectly. But the guy who made the suit had so much trouble that he had to have Arrow take over his fighting part of it. So suspend belief sometimes and other times, but really excited for episode 2, and I hope they keep me that way.
Yeah, and Katie mentioned, which is surprising considering how much we were not a fan of Warren Wilder. The choice, not the actress, Javicia,
Javicia, yeah.
Javicia. Yeah.
Javicia.
Um, no, and I agree. I think we were all just saying we could always recast. Why are we going down this route at that point? And hey, I said it first. Hey, I will be happy to be proven wrong. And so far, they prove me wrong. But you don't see, like some people on Twitter, you don't see me putting out there saying, "Oh my God, geez, what the heck?" At
If
that
I
point, I
didn't
think
like
we,
it, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't say that either. I would have just said I watched the Batwoman premiere. That's all I
yeah,
would say.
I think if anything, if I did put something out there, it's just like I think that's a very disappointing choice in the sense of just changing it out. But they still got me around. I'm not going to just cancel them. And you know what? Good for her. Good for everyone on the show. I think they did a good job with just establishing themselves and what they're doing with the season. So looking
Couldn't
forward to the
agree more,
rest of it.
Chris. And I also want to point out, like you said, I was all for the like Javika to be cast, and I just wanted her to be Kate Kane instead of being Roy
Mm-hmm.
Wilder. But you're getting me to enjoy the character, so
Yep.
who knows? Like I could be reading comics that with a character Ryan Wilder that looks just like Javika in a couple years. So
Yeah.
who knows? I hope so. But excited.
Yeah.
I would give that like a 7.5 or 7 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. Uh,
Yeah. I'd definitely give it a 7 at that point.
the
So
the just the problems, the ways it down are nothing to do with what they're trying to do going forward. So like I said, that gives me
yep.
that's really positive for me.
Yeah. So
I guess we'll take another break before
yep.
we end it off with a little bit of news.
Yeah. Sure.
Perfect. Okay, listeners, we'll be quick and painless. This shouldn't be no longer than a minute. Uh, we'll be back shortly. And we're back. Okay, Chris, just a couple little news topics that I have here and our would you rather for the week. I'll jump into it because you sent me here for this information. Because I, like you, listen to Fat Man Beyond, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in the 2.5 hours or 3 hours, same thing with Vodka Stream, I don't get through the whole entire thing. So I got through like an hour, maybe hour 20 of this, didn't finish. And then you wrote me and told me, yeah, you probably might want to because there's an interesting little nugget in there.
It was like
And
the last 14 minutes that was nugget was dropped out of nowhere.
it doesn't do justice to listen to it, but you got to see Kevin Smith's face when Mark Bernard brings it up because you can tell first of all it's not some of the stuff that he does is not planned. Like they're not sitting there an hour beforehand. We're going to do this because Kevin was like,
Mhm.
oh, you heard it too, kind of face because
Mark calls him out totally,
yes.
saying like, something.
Yes, and I love Mark for doing that because Mark says he heard that they're going to do a revival, basically another season of Batman the animated series. And
Yeah.
for listeners, we're doing that right now on Superhero Discussions. It's amazing. Greg's watching it for the first time. I love the show, and
Mhm.
uh, if we get more of it, I mean, are you kidding me? There's so many questions I have. Are you going to take the new designs, the old designs? When is it going to be set? Is it going to be pre Nightwing, post Nightwing? Are the comic books going to matter for the Batman animated universe? So there's
Yep.
so many questions
The
I
adventure
have.
continues. Yep.
But like Chris said, Mark said that, and then Kevin Smith kind of had a
He goes,
weird look of like oh my god, hand
he
over
didn't want to talk
face.
about it.
And then Mark called him out on it, and Kevin was like, "I heard this a month ago, this exact thing." So,
From people
and
that he
yeah,
trusted too,
yeah.
that he knows doesn't blow smoke.
And listeners, he doesn't say anything like he doesn't say rumors he might hear every day because we don't hear. I don't. I listen to Fat Man. He don't say it every time. But I'm not gonna lie, he laid out everything about Zack Snyder's Justice League in 2017 or 20. No, last year or the year before.
Yeah.
Anyway, before it was announced, the Snyder Cut was announced. Kevin like laid out everything, said that the VFX. He talked to VFX people, laid out the Steppenwolf was completely different. There's all kind of stuff will be different, and it was all proven to be true. So I kind of trust him when he doesn't say stuff just for the sake of saying it or for clicks or views. He's not about that. Like because they didn't even put this out as a little segment. It was snatched and then put stories about. So I don't know. I fingers crossed, and
Yeah.
toes crossed for that because it's probably like it's a definitive Batman uh, iteration for our generation anyway.
Yeah. And to be also honest, they're gonna. I mean, again, Kevin Conroy is not getting any older. I mean, excuse me, not getting any younger. I would love it if he's not getting any older. I'd like to keep him around forever.
Yeah,
But again, that's our quintessential voice that I hear when I read Batman. The voice I grew up with as my Batman next to Michael Keaton, but he is my quintessential voice of Batman, and it would be great to get again another outing for him back in the cape and the cowl in a regular series format.
couldn't agree more, Chris. And honestly, all those animated shows, those are the voices I hear when I read the comics. Like for Spider-Man, same Spider-Man, Superman, uh, Batman, like you said, all the X-Men from X-Men, the animated series, I hear them. Like, I'm sorry, Hugh Jackman, I know you're like considered Wolverine and you don't age, so like people are kind of iffy if you actually may be Wolverine. But when I read Wolverine in comics, I hear the animated series Wolverine's voice.
Yeah, that kind of
So
raspy, like, come here.
at least it wasn't like the 80s X-Men where he was Australian. It was oh my, just thinking about Dragon Ball Z, there's a guy that has an Australian accent, and someone's like, "We get it, you're from space Australia," and I seen a video like that. I haven't stopped thinking about that. It's so funny. Okay, so just a couple quick other things to knock out before we finish here tonight. Uh, Peacemaker has spin-off series has officially begun filming. Chris, are you excited for that, or do you think that you need to see Suicide Squad, or do you trust that this character is going to be a big enough hit?
My knowledge of Peacemaker is very little, very small amount at that point. So James Gunn, I trust what James Gunn does, despite what again, he gets a lot of detractors for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but Brightburn, man, that is one heck of a ride at that point. So the fact that he gets to do the Suicide Squad and go all out, truly make it even bigger than the first outing at that point. Sure, it's going to be the first kind of DC. It's probably, from what I understand, it's going to be the first DC content on HBO, original content on HBO Max, correct?
Yes, that be the first thing
As a
that
streaming
drops.
show,
If we don't count Harley Quinn, uh, well, that didn't premiere there, so yeah,
didn't premiere out. Yeah, so an HBO Max original.
yeah.
So,
Well, they're renamed HBO Max originals now, I think.
oh yeah,
But what you say, I, I'm excited. Like I said, I think I'm the biggest fan of John Cena, the actor, of all of us
yeah.
in the group. Like I'm constantly seems like I'm coming to ride to his defense when and I don't think he's like friggin' Robert De Niro or anything like that. Like I
Or The
just think he's
Rock.
a yeah. I don't think Rock is outrageously great of an actor either. Like he just looks like
Well,
he's from chiseled from granite.
when I say like, I say I'm not putting them in, like you said,
No,
Robert De
yeah,
Niro kind of
yeah.
categories. Like, again, but also Rock has had a while to build his kind of status of what parts he plays,
Katie has a
what
good point
roles
as
he
well.
takes.
Doom Patrol
Like,
season 2 probably would count for the HBO Max original. I think
but
that was there
that
when HBO
but
Max dropped.
it did drop, but it still was DC. It still originally was DC at that
Yeah.
point.
Oh yeah.
I'm
But
talking about like
yeah.
I'm talking about to clarify then, Katie. Yes, you're right in that sense, but I'm talking about like first on full on HBO Max. They've owned this from the beginning.
And Stu said Cena can play a pompous, overly patriotic Superman well, so he fits. Like I said, that's what I think he can nail it, and he's very funny in blockers. And I think if he, because he's
Yes,
not,
very
and
funny.
he's not trying to be funny. Like his character is not like his character is serious and believes everything that he's saying, and is not trying like. So I think he could be perfect for uh, this character because I think he can dive in and 100% into the role. So really looking forward to
Yeah,
seeing what John Cena has to offer, to be honest with you.
I'm looking forward to see kind of the first trailer for the Suicide Squad to kind of get a. I know we saw that kind of sizzle behind the scenes stuff at DC Fandom, but I want to see kind of a real trailer, just a full on first trailer. I don't know when we're getting that, but
James
hopefully
Gunn
soon.
tweeted out today he needs people to calm down a little bit. He's working as hard as possible. He knows you want your first look, your first trailer, your first teaser. He said, "I'm working on it as hard as possible." So
I'm sure he is.
he's getting it. So I got to feel a little bit of Wonder Woman numbers before we head out here. Actual grosses for Wonder Woman 84 overseas came better than estimates. This is from Luis Fernando. Uh, Grossing 6 million in its fifth weekend, up 11.1% from last weekend. So the international total is 106.7, and domestic total is 35.8 by Monday, this past Monday. So by today, so Wonder Woman 84's global box office right now is 142.5 million, and it's eyeing a 160 to 190 million global box office. So I think the big thing here is we need to find out how much HBO Max knocked that down compared to Tenet, because Tenet is my measuring board in the pandemic right now. So
Mhm.
I'll be curious. I want to see what that adds because there got to be a way to add it even like views counts as a ticket purchased or something just to give me some sort of rough comparison. I'm not talking exact comparison, but just a rough comparison.
Yeah, I would love to. I don't know how, again, it's going to be very interesting as these movies drop because I think, I've seen ads. I just saw you last night while watching Batwoman, an ad for the new Denzel Washington,
Yeah.
Jared Leto movie at that point. And I saw like dropping the same day as HBO Max. So that's how I'm going to get to see these movies that probably I'd be waiting anyways till it gets on a streaming platform. So I'm excited about that fact.
Same, Chris. I don't have the streaming service, which sucks, but it
I
seems
know,
like,
yeah,
but
Canada.
no, I'm okay with it because it seems like they're going to do a VOD release for
Mhm.
most of these movies at the
That's
same
good.
time and I'm okay with paying. I know it's not like you're paying far less, but I'll like if I can have it, that's all that matters to me. Especially with like Zack Snyder's Justice League, I will turn my house into a USA point for people. I'm watching that when it comes out, exactly when it comes out. Regardless, I'll make my computer to the HBO Max thing because I can do it that way. I just can't from the
Yeah,
iPad, unfortunately. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm really excited about it, and oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that this movie should have come out years and years ago, and we've said this over and over again. But I hope it showed what it was hopefully expected to do. I even kind of slightly rolled my eyes when Keelar said, "Let's get a billion people doing this." I can't do that, bud. It kind of got limited on the platform
You
there,
got
but we could
300
try.
million chances there. 300 million people. If they
Yeah.
try and we'd love it. Just go buy out Crave TV. I'm waiting for you to
Yep.
do it, Killer. I'm waiting for you. But like I said, it doesn't make sense for that
Maybe this
company. So,
summer. Maybe this summer you'll get it. Maybe you'll
well,
get halfway
time's
through.
taken. Time's taken. So whenever you get to the middle of the grand that contract, they're going to have to seriously rethink things because, like I told you before, the HBO add-on costs the exact same price as the streaming service itself. So, I mean, what are you doing if you lose that content? You're
Yeah.
losing half your library. So that I think that's pretty much it for the news. Just stuff that we already knew, like the two-part crossover for Batman and Superman and Lois has been canceled. We knew
Bye
that.
bye.
So not something that they haven't said. And I don't know, can't believe I'm even saying that the direct Henry Lennox has confirmed that he's Martian Manhunter, like we both knew, like you said, we were deep in this. So I guess without further ado, Chris, I'm gonna give you the would you rather for the week before we
All
head
right.
off. Would you rather have Keaton or Affleck back as Batman? I mean Batman. Uh, I love you, Greg. If you could only have one, if you could only have one, so uh, who would you pick out of Affleck and Keaton if you could only have one?
um, I mean, I wanted to see more out of Affleck. At that point, I know basically it's a good question just because all we got was two Keaton, two Affleck. But the thing that Keaton has that Batman doesn't, people can make arguments. Batman versus Superman is a Batman movie more than, and Superman just happens to be along for the ride. I get those arguments. I think they have some fair points, but we don't have a solo Batman movie out of Affleck, and I want to at least see that where he has that. So Keaton, we got two. Keaton was my first Batman on the big screen for like many people, but I want to see just a little more out of Affleck. But I don't know if we will. But yeah, that's my choice with Affleck.
I chose Affleck as well, but I could also see the Keaton way of gut thinking because he could totally do the Batman Beyond type thing where you can have him in a
Maybe still
chair.
doing it as
Maybe,
Katie voted to do Keaton as well.
yeah. I see. Katie says Keaton, and like I said, not a bad choice at all. And
No,
I don't. I'd rather Keaton back as Bruce Wayne if we're going to have just Bruce Wayne, like not in the suit, because like you said, I wanted to see Ben Affleck's Batman like in a solo Batman movie, but I'd rather see Keaton if it's just a like you're coming about like a couple times as Bruce Wayne. So I'm copping out and saying I want both if I could, but this is a would you
you
rather. So
break your own rules. Of course, I'd want both.
I went with Affleck, and Affleck won 60-40 there. So wait, there is I gotta actually read this because oh wait, never mind. Of course, I forgot who it was. It was
Yeah, I'm
Brent.
about to say you're gonna read that thread.
It was Brent. Brent
Yep.
says wireless baggage with Keaton's Batman. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
I mean, true.
70.
Well,
It's just 70.
initially,
He's just
after he did it,
he's just
because
70.
Mr. Mom is going to play Batman. Remember that controversy before the internet?
Yeah, oh my god. No, I don't, because I was two.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was not, but I'm just saying I
Thank
love
thank
looking
Lord.
back.
Thank the Lord.
And Stu says he's for Affleck at that point. So yeah, definitely a good question. But guess what? We're getting a third with Keaton in Flashpoint, so
And both
we'll
of them are
see.
going to be in that. So I
Yep,
guess we're
exactly.
getting
We get
both.
hey, we win.
Yeah,
We
we get
win.
both. Chris, I can't thank you enough for
Oh, there's only
joining
one?
me. Yeah, there's only one. There's only one
Oh,
this
okay.
week.
I thought I'm always used to y'all doing
Yeah,
two.
usually there's two, but there's only one this week.
Okay.
So, like I said, I can't thank you enough for. Okay, yeah, no, he did. He did. Yeah, I just want to make sure the
Yep.
time travel one there. So yeah, can't thank you enough for joining me, helping me out here. You big help. The interview was amazing. Bravo again, sir.
Thank you.
DC Alliance. No, he's the GUA correspondent. That's what I'm going to refer to you as now. Out in the field.
I'm not. No. I appreciate that. It's just one time. Not saying there's not gonna be another. I'm not gonna like say like I'm.
He's our correspondent. He's our
appreciate it.
GUA correspondent in the field now.
But again, for those that watch on YouTube, again, you please download it on the feed. It will be mixed in where it was. That's unfortunately
Yes.
we couldn't go live with it. Some technical difficulties surrounding that, but again, it'll be on the audio feed. So I hope you enjoy it. It's about a little over 30 minutes. So
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to it again. Like you said, it's right on the start. Special thanks to Sean for coming on, giving our little podcast a plug like that. Can't state how much that's appreciated. And like I said, thanks Chris for getting this all together. Like extra little clap. See if Greg was here, we'd have two double claps. But thanks again, sir. Tell the listeners where they can find you.
Of course, as I always say on these moments, one is glad to be of service. So, but yes, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga, Marvel Alliance at Marvel A Podcast, and World's Finest True Believers at Finest Believers, and SCS on some Friday nights, and just around and around and around we go. So, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Chris is everywhere. Marvel Alliance is the place to be on Tuesday nights, and tomorrow night the exact same place, the exact same time.
Double duty. Woo.
He's got some juicy stuff. We got Chris Evans news. And we're going to finally hear Travis and Chris talk about WandaVision. So they'll be excited. They may have a guest show up. Who knows?
Or two. Who knows?
Or two
People
or
just
three.
drop
Who
into the
knows?
Zoom.
But yeah, Chris, thanks for coming on again and the interview and everything. You're the bomb. And you can find
You're
me
very
on
welcome.
Twitter at Travis_156. You can drop me a line. We can chat about DC anytime. The Twitter handle is DC Alliance. You can hit that up or hit me or Greg up at the Bat Daddy 52 is Greg for any questions, any concerns, any ways you think we can improve. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading, liking, retweeting, engaging in the chat. Katie, Stu.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah, Katie and Stu.
Yeah.
Thanks. So,
yes. As always, appreciated.
We'll see you around the bend.
Yep.
Later, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Make this big.
Yeah, let me know when we're off.
I'm trying to make this. Okay, yeah.